This is the Lean Builders Hoots on the Ground podcast with absolutely, positively no bullshito. Join us as we dig into exactly what lean construction is and how we can use these concepts and strategies in the field. This podcast will be different as we journey to job sites and mine the minds of lean builders, all in effort to pass forward building knowledge from those who have put their time in to learn a better way. Because that's just what lean builders do. What's up, y'all? Adam Hoots here, the Lean Builder Podcast, Hoots on the Ground, with no bullshito, coming to you with Mr. Sean Graystone. Sean, say hi to the Lean Builder Nation. Tell us about you. Want to capitalize on our conversation on respect for people, but remember, with no bullshito.
Yeah, I don't do the bullshito number very well. Hello, everybody. So glad you can join us. We are with my edgy thinking friend over here, Mr. Edgy. Yeah, edgy in a good way. Challenging the status quo. Edgy.
Like that. Like how you put that.
We are change agents. We've certainly been known as change agents. We have one interest in particular that we've been discussing this morning, tangential and parallel to the respect for people line, which is to make the construction environment that we operate in and the AEC community, which we thrive and work, a better, more healthy place. And one of the quickest ways to do that is the respect for people's path. That's why we're talking about this morning. Adam asked me to say a little bit about myself. I went into the carpenters before I got out of high school. I was in the joint apprenticeship training program over the shop. I was in the state of New Mexico, climbed my way up the ladder of both custom millworking and specialty carpentry into full-scale construction with a leaning very strongly towards bespoke restoration. So I've done a lot of touchy buildings. I ended up with a reputation by the time I was in my 30s of doing buildings that scared other people. So that's
In fact,
great.
You just told me this stuff right before our conversation, and I told you I do the best millworker on the east side of the Mississippi. You're like, I was the best millworker on the west side. And
I told me I was the best millworker.
You told me not to tell anybody, so I'm sorry. I'm breaking our trust.
It's all right.
But,
I did say that I am a member of what we used to call the 10,000 hour club. So anybody who spent more than 10,000 working hours on millworking machines, we're members. We have a couple other names we call ourselves too. They're not fit for public consumption.
They're pushing the status quo too hard.
Yeah.
Well, but following respect for people, right?
Right.
And so we picked up the phone and we called the guy on the East Coast, Mark Riddle. And it just so happens you guys live within an hour of each other.
Yeah.
So
we're getting together here very soon.
Mark, it's on. You hear him. He's coming to get you. We're going to have a little shake building contest. I'm excited for that. But yeah, tell us, keep going, because it didn't stop there, right?
No, it didn't stop there. I ended up coming up through some commercial construction companies. We got fairly big. I broke away and branched off in my early 30s. Opened up my own construction group. We started doing specialty work for major general contractors. I had a unique approach due to my mentors. That's the subject of a whole other conversation. I ended up with multiple construction companies, which we started closing down and changing right around 2009 and 2012.
Okay.
I went substantially into owner's representation.
Interesting.
What I've done that. Yeah, I've been a proponent of lean construction and collaborative work.
Is that word?
Oh yeah, that's right. Don't take your lean builder hat off. Good Lord's sake. I left mine upstairs. I don't say that word anymore because
You can get yours too.
yeah, we're careful now to say collaborative, high performance, high intensity teamwork, which is what we prefer, right? And get it done.
That's what lean builders do. You just get it done.
I recently left a project I've been on for many years up in Washington, D.C., restoring John Wilson Pope's first monumental commission, which was a fabulous project. And right now, I am down in the Carolinas, working on new things, going interesting places, which is why I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Hoots, today, because we have changes to make. We really are vested in trying to figure out what will make the AEC community a healthier place to be. Physically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, financially, spiritually, the healing of ourselves is all part of this conversation we're having today. On this very particular Sunday. That good start.
That's a good foundation, a good basis. I think it's important to recognize as people, right?
All about
it is. I've had a conversation on respect for people with many people, and sometimes the things that I say about it will really shock some people. Brace yourself as I introduce you to the way my mind thinks.
All right, Mr. Hoots is about to come out with something serious. I suggest everybody sit down, hold on to a chair, grab something stable.
In order to
Leave in your mind.
Is it about respect for people, or is it about respect for resources?
The quick answer to that is that we're viewing human beings as a resource. We're as simple as an expendable resource that we're completely off.
Good. I like the clarification with expendable, because I disagree with that.
If we are looking at human beings as resources or solutions, the overcoming of constraints, the motion forward of us individually having together, then absolutely, we are a resource. But again, we're not an expendable resource. Resources are valuable.
Well, what's the definition of an expendable resource?
Now, that's going to get into some sticky conversation.
And I want to keep this from a builder's mindset. So from the carpenter days, again, this is boots on the ground. This is like dog boots on, we're not steel tape here. No, sorry, the pants. I'm breaking all kinds of protocol in my hat. And so when you stop and think about that, what is the word expendable just from a builder's mindset? If I have an expendable or like,
if I have an expendable relationship with a trade partner, I'm justified in doing anything that I can do to make my bottom line profit at the expense of my trade partner. If that's necessary, that's an expendable resource. The flip on that is if I have a trade partner with whom I try to build a working relationship where we can all enter a high risk scenario with an assurance of mutual trust between us, knowing that we enter as a team, and that if anyone on the team is harmed, then we're all harmed as a project harmed, then that's not an expendable resource. Then it's a resource in which we're investing our time, energy, attention, money, efforts to develop right thing.
I'm picking up on what you're saying.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, I think you're looking at the relationship as a resource.
Human beings are resources, and it's how we relate to one another that makes the difference between whether
it's expendable.
Right. Is it expendable, or is it a vested resource in which we grow? So not grow on relationships.
100%.
At least in what we call help.
In that growth, relationships become dispensable or indispensable is how I would put it. But I'm not focused on the relationship side of things quite yet, because I don't think we're really ready to get there. I guess fundamentally, I think you're looking at it way deeper than I am. When I think of an expendable resource, I think of something that only has so much to give. It's not whether I value that or not, it's whether it has only X amount to give. It's expendable. It gives out at a certain TNT or dynamite.
But does not our usage determine
100% how long it can be for?
Absolutely. And so there's a sense in this society that I feel very strongly that expendable resources are okay in certain business equations.
And so
human beings, materials, that makes a difference.
Because they only have so much to give.
Not if it's a resource that is renewable and each time it recharges, it grows. Right?
Interesting.
And is this no different?
This is right where
think about raising children.
Yeah,
I'm children.
capability development is what we're
In a
saying.
sense,
And so this is the part that many people don't follow me, because when I hear respect for people, I immediately say no. One, it's cliche. Two, it's like the word "them." It's like everybody just uses it. So yeah, we respect. It's like I said,
they do that too, though. Everyone says, "Oh, we respect people." Really? Did you?
you know. But so that's why I start with respect for resources. When I think of what do I need to build upon, this might sound inhumane at first,
But when you start going a little deeper, that we just started talking about, where, look, I respect resources such that if there's a piece of trash on the ground, I'm going to go pick it up. Now, somebody else doesn't have to do that. Out of respect for resources of picking up that trash and reusing that, I have just saved respect for people. This thing is a systems problem. This is a systematic, fundamental problem that if we start with the people aspect, that's like, we were talking about in here, and you're getting side effects, and you're treating the side effects. So I challenge people, and people get so upset with me that they can't even hear me out on this. And I mean, there's been a particular instance recently that actually our conversation before, and I'm not going to put names out there that know they know who they are. We try to have a civilized conversation, and nobody ever hears this part of it. And so as you started to listen to me earlier, I was like, man, I got to pull this out and record it, because I'm dying to know you're alive, feeling right, because you haven't heard it yet. But my opinion on respect for people is that it is so overplayed that we don't understand that. I mean, people are like, we see people as human beings, and they exist for a purpose. And in order to respect the purpose for which they are here for, we need to respect every other resource around them that gives them the same equal and every opportunity to be the person that they are intended to be, from whatever that might come from, if it's religion or if it's the universe or Big Bang, or whatever you believe in your life. If you respect that resource, ultimately that resource will respect that person.
I'm frowning because as I digest this, and I'm about to ask you for a condensation of that again.
Okay.
But, so think about that.
How do you get condensation again?
It
has to be hotter outside and colder inside.
It's a relative. Anyway, well,
Somebody had to
okay.
balance that.
There is an assumption, and this may just be semantics, and I'm picky about words.
Me too.
So
It's gonna be a long podcast.
it might be. I hope y'all have patience. We may just cut this and then go back to our own personal conversation.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, here's an issue. I have a little trouble with the word resource, because the word resource implies use. We don't use people.
Sure we do.
We should. We don't use people. We can make collaborative team agreements where we can all join into an effort to get them.
So you
But
said
we can't go, right, I'm not saying we don't.
Okay. We're
Far
aligned.
from it.
Then we're aligned, but we use
I'm talking
people
about
every day.
at all the time. That's
Go
why
over there and
we
pick up
use
that piece of
people.
trash.
We overuse people. We drive them to the point of their inability to function healthily.
We're not good leaders. Myself included, are not great leaders. And helping people to feel valued, and actually not even to feel valued, helping people to be that.
Yes. It starts with valuing ourselves, number one. But it also starts with the fact that, I wasn't trained like that. I was trained to tell people go out and do what they did till they fell down. We ran 3 shifts a day, or 8-hour shifts, and we had to run 24/7 to get a project done and not pay liquidated damages all the time. Don't do something, not make for completion, not do something, not have a CO by this time of day at this point in time. It didn't matter who we wasted on the way up. And I can tell you from personal experience, people were expensive. I destroyed relationships between myself and electrical superintendent, trade partner leaders, my relationships with trusted trade partners, where they knew reliably they would get paid because they trusted. We accepted our role as a general contractor as making sure that all our partners on our parade, like a military column, towards completion of something, every one of us as safe as we could make them. But nonetheless, within the operating rules, it was okay. I'll tell you a horrible story. It's a self-confession. I was doing a project was about mill. It was a high-end retail kind of scenario. We had an opening date, a expectation, people flying in from all over the United States for an opening day. We had 3 neutron boards for controlling the interior of a place about as sophisticated as the San Francisco Opera interior lighting scenarios kind of deal. The electrical superintendent was responsible for that. His wife was delivering their first child. We were 72 hours from home, and we had non-functional neutron boards and neutrons for people flew in of them and forced the superintendent out of hospital. Did it in a very unscrupulous manner. He did what was acceptable at the time. He called up the trade partner and said, "You're under contract. If I don't have something here within 2 hours right now, we will hire a competitor for the completion of the terms of the contract." That destroyed me. It destroyed a personal relationship that I had with a friend of mine. And at the time, I thought it was acceptable, and everybody I worked for thought it was acceptable. And this was okay. Well, that's an expendable resource. That was the destruction of a personal relationship and a trauma on somebody's personal life. That this type of stuff we're talking about, this is part of the general offering for us to get what was acceptable at that point. One of the things that we're saying nowadays is that's not acceptable. And I guess my point was, I didn't come here by some kind of natural boink on the head where all of a sudden I realized when Cinderella's a fairy godmother and there's a way to do stuff. I made mistakes for many years that I was coming up, and hopefully I've learned something of my mistakes. But we're all driven in part, and
we all fell fools. That's a huge component of failing forward.
Right. So
that's a big situation. That's a big scenario.
But
and it resonates with me. So I almost missed the birth of my job. If it weren't for Chris Woods, and I've said this on this podcast before, Chris Woods saved me from missing my kids. I was ripping foundations out the day they were born, united and 2 more. And if I would have finished,
you, me, and everybody else. And when we were coming up in those days, that's exactly. And I'll tell you what, the work from the general contractor level, it's not just the superintendent to a team member. I can tell you more stories about how you find pressure a low bid competitive trading partner in a low bid market scenario that you can force 10% or more out of contract operations. And there's ways to write these things. When I was coming up, this was SOP. So was the job. So we're all kind of
so let's just be driving this thing back.
Well, I just want to get to the point about respect for people. All of these operations that we're describing, some of the non-fiction stories, we're talking about are places where the violations for the respect for people will operate as if it's SOP. Okay, and part of the goal here is to how do we change the SOP? Get really truly where
the new standard operating procedure.
The new standard operating procedure
when we get this situation.
Based on empathy, compassion, understanding, respect, real respect.
Yeah, that's what lean builders do. These are the things that they pay attention with their emotions. They sense and they understand and they see and they understand. They're the leadership and self-deception. I mean that's it right there.
It is
kind of a mindset.
And if that, for some of you out there who haven't read that, I'll tell you what my principal takeaway was from that book. It's really important, although there are many. And we have to thank our mentors for putting us on.
Oh yeah, Hal, Terry,
Coleman,
who else? Rick Barnett, Cynthia Sal.
Yep. So the key to that one is, though, if you have the opportunity to make something better in somebody else's life that you come across their path during the day, and it doesn't matter if it's a stranger in a bus depot, your partner at home, your children, your co-worker, your boss up the line, your trade partners, someone you're talking to labor at
Starbucks down.
Yep. The Starbucks lady who just went back coffee with and had a very personal conversation with because she's not having day to day. Yeah. If we cross a human being, we have the opportunity to make their life better in some fashion or another. Hold the door open, provide something, pay ahead when we're picking up coffee, drive through, all the way to facilitating a trade partner on a construction site, and we don't take the opportunity to gift that enhancement from ourselves. What we're doing is engaging in an act of self-deception.
Crosses out.
So, anyway, the goal here is we talk about some of the things we don't like, but our real thought, our whole drive this morning conversation has been, how do we really truly implement change in scenarios? How do we live on with everybody? How do we get everybody to understand the new value equation? Because there's not a new leadership paradigm teacher out there. We can run the gamut from Lencioni and Cynic to Brene Brown to Simon Salomon to all of these all of these thought leaders are saying the same thing. To be an effective leader in a high performance, high intensity, lean, especially in a lean integrated project delivery scenario, we have to be empowering of our partners. We have to be empathetic. We have to support the people that are our team members. One of the goals of the leader in that is to clear the path so that for the team, so that the team that's free to think liberally, openly, with psychological safety. No one fears being ridiculed. Every idea is a good idea. There are no stupid questions. All of these things are.
So hear me out on this.
Okay.
So we are agreeing and aligning 100%, and everything that you just said is the effective resource utilization.
Conscientious
Yes.
resource utilization in an empathetic manner, understanding that we're
I
all
understand that.
human beings and equal, right?
Resource utilization. When I think of a resource to build a project, I need people. And I know that again, that's always the stigma, are people resources. And I say there are resources. There's only so much of them to go around.
And they're the resources, and they're the resource or constraint.
And so we're starting to kind of muddy the water, because I love talking about this concept of attack planning and how we respect resources. And I think as we start to understand and align opinions on what resources are, because again, if I'm respecting my stack of drywall such that it's just in time, I have that argument later at another. I'm sure you're on my side. But still, just in time works, like supermarket station setups.
Right.
But then if I'm respecting the resource and not bringing it all in, then I don't have to have my people moving it. I don't have to have my people that deal with all these other resources. So what I am saying is that there is a fundamental mind shift set that needs to retake. When we start talking about respect for people, I'm all for it. I will be the biggest advocate, and I will show respect to any human individual that is out there in this world as much as they disrespect me. I lead by example, servant leader. However, what I have noticed is that when I respect the resources around the person, specifically the person that does not respect me, and I take myself out of my leadership and self-deception and say, whoa, what is this? Like, how is this person viewing me, and what I'm saying? When I realize the resources around the person I'm trying to respect before the person, it leads to a deeper connection and respect for people faster. My discussion with this person before was about, if we really, really want to respect people, we need to really understand the resources that they've been given, that they have, that they're working to obtain. Where is their mindset, right? In leadership and self-deception, they talk about two mindsets. It's fixed or it's growth.
No, that's
Correct. It's correct.
Talking
And
about
it's the
inward and
same, it's
outward.
the same systems
Inward and
thinking. It's growth in the fixed mindset is what Caleb calls it.
right, and it's inward and outward mindset is what architect calls it.
It's basically getting outside your box and looking at your box and saying, where's my ladder of inference? Where's my
And more than
data
that,
coming
it's
from?
also reaching outside the limits of somebody's doing something to me. It's a matter of it's a matter of how am I actually
It's victim mindset.
it is, but part of this point to me is very important. When you're viewing it, the difference between inward and outward mindset is if someone's either doing something to me or created a situation which I'm influencing that may have constructive or destructive influences, what we're responsible for, and how do we alter it from our side, my mark perception. So to me, it's a fine distinction. I don't disagree with you at all.
To me, what you just said is it's either happening to me or it's happening for me. And I'm going to make that
With me,
determination.
and we will turn
I like that. I like
broad
that addition.
additions.
Yeah, I like that one. I like
Yeah,
that
I
one.
do too. Adam mentioned some like lean tools and practices, and so there's all these things, big rooms, this and that. Not everything, with the exception probably of last minor system, is applicable in every situation. Yeah, no, I'm trying to be real careful, right?
Don't be careful. Spit it, baby.
Okay, so here's the deal. Every lean tool that we have is not applicable in every situation. And so part of the goal of a discriminating team using their mind is to figure out which one of these tools is best applied to each one of the situations. And to do that is responsible resource assignment. You're going to say what you just said about human beings, and them being the resources for the solutions to the constraints that we're facing. Construction is filled with constraints. Variation. And so, and our whole goal of this is how to mitigate, minimize, ameliorate, deal with, figure out how to best overcome the obstacles without damage. Right? Exactly. So to me, part of the responsible use of resources is realizing, just like you said, what the asset of that particular resource is, and then applying it in the right place, and not over-applying it or under-applying it, but understanding that each one of these people has their place, their application, but each takes consideration. There's no blanket solution to anything, folks. It doesn't work like that. No, but there's no magic wand. It's all hard work. But anyway,
it takes craftsmanship, and I guess the relationships are not expendable.
No human being.
But the human being capacity is expendable. We have a certain amount of time where we can be effective on a job site.
We also have billions of influencing factors. It's the moment by moment effectivity. Today, this is no different. You come to the job site in the morning stressed and pressed from issues from another place that affects you, and it affects everybody, by the way, on the job site, whether we think this is an influence or not. There's a beautiful saying, which I use all the time, I love from Will Rogers, social commentator, what I love dearly. One of my favorite lines is forgive me if I misquote it.
Find it and I'll put it up there.
Okay. By the way, important point. This is my daughter-in-law texting me pictures of my grandmother as we're talking, because this is what I'm she's got me.
Man, that's so fresh. Where is she at? What's her name? Indigo.
The Will Rogers quote.
Let's go.
What you like is about.
I'm probably going to edit that part. And I start with resources. People are always like, you view people as resources? And I was like, you don't? Like, how do you not? People can only do so much. Like, if I have a pile of brick right there, I can only do so much with that pile of brick. If I try to do too much with that pile of brick, I'm not going to be able to do anything. Same thing, I only have that many people, and if I try to do too much with that many people, I'm not going to do anything. It's like, if I don't have enough equipment, if I don't have enough scissors, if I don't have ladders, like, I can't do the work.
I don't have enough materials inside. I do that list. Yeah, so that's the deal, though, is humans put together will come up with alternatives.
Absolutely. And we know what resources are available to us and their capabilities. Nobody ever hears me out on this point, and it drives me nuts. It turns me off.
And, okay, maybe I'm wrong. I should listen to what that person is saying. I'm wrong constantly. It's all my wrongness that's got me to sometimes thinking right.
Yeah.
Okay? So listen to this. Here's the quote. This is my Will Rogers quote. I absolutely love it. Everyone is ignorant, only on different subjects.
Everyone is ignorant, only on different subjects.
Which is the great equalizer. Yeah. Because guess what? You have a perspective I don't have. I have a perspective you don't have. That person over there has a perspective that neither of us has.
No, because I don't see anybody over there.
That's an imaginary team member that is on some complex.
He's the one hating all this stuff.
No, this is just experience.
I love that quote. Yeah,
I do too, because it's a very important quote.
That's like the
what that really means is no one's unimportant. Yeah. You have a place on a team. You have a specific place on a team for a specific reason, and you have a piece of knowledge, experience, skill, talent, ability that no one else on the team has, and you're going to see something from a different point of view, and that point of view sometimes will be the absolute critical solution that will solve the entire problem. And I got hundreds of stories of that
because that's what we builders do. They pay attention to those things that maybe other teammates aren't paying attention to, or don't snag or grants right away.
And maybe I would like to say we spend more time thinking about what is the appropriate use of the appropriate resource at the right time in the right place, which will have the maximum effect for what? A constructive result. Yeah. A non-destructive result. By the way, this leads to another conversation which we won't touch on here, but stop using good and bad. I've had to reevaluate the use of positive and negative right and wrong.
Yeah.
And so now what I should use feedback, or what I'm using specifically now, very conscientiously, is forces and influences that are constructive or destructive. Yeah. Right. So there's no connotation about white black, tan, like a dark, all that stuff has to be taken out of the lab. It was beautiful art in Riddle.
I like that applied to feedback.
I do too. Really critical thought here. It came from an article I read a few years back. I think it was on the Elephant Journal. It said, "Don't hate the dark. Don't hate the dark." And it comes from, here's a beautiful thought from a French mystical writer, mid 1800s. Compare living light to the weaving of a tapestry. And the quote, and I'm going to butcher this badly, and I don't think I can get the
We don't have
source
time.
online. We don't have time, but it's basically life's like a loom, right? And that which moves all things moves the shuttle back and forth as the warps go up and down, and each color differentiation represents an emotional, psychological, physical state of human consciousness. at these different points, right? When the tapestry is complete, when the tapestry is lifted up to be examined as a life, one will notice that the dark parts of the tapestry are necessary to the definition of the picture as far as the white parts. And therefore, you cannot view, which is why we get to the lean view of there are no errors, there's no mistakes, there's only learning opportunities. That's it. So that what appears to be the darkness, which is lean into discomfort, find where the conflict is, all the rest of that kind of stuff, it's only through the approach to that do we find our way to the outside.
And here's the funny part, the thing we watched with Simon Sinek this morning, talking about humans don't recognize negative thinking.
That's right.
Don't think about an elephant.
Right.
Don't think about what,
Watch that.
sorry.
Find it.
What you just think
Very
about.
good. Right.
And it's got my mind turning. I guess I appreciate you hearing me out.